Hey, everybody, and welcome to the 11th episode of the Greater Apes podcast. My name is Jerry Williams, aka Greater Sapien.
And my name is Jesse, aka Bino.
And we're going to start off today. We're going to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know we still have some Zack Snyder's Justice League to go over, and that'll probably be a whole separate little video. I promise we'll finish that off.
I'll try to keep it short, folks. So if you're in this one and you want to, I'll try to keep it short.
Yeah, and then there'll be either a whole separate or it'll be on this one here.
Right.
Because we went in kind of hard last time, and we still have a whole bunch to talk about on that one. Got a feeling that one's just going to come up a lot.
It's just going to come up a lot. It's
over time because it's
a touchstone.
It's got legs. Yeah, it's going to have some legs. So we're going to talk about the new Marvel series Falcon and Winter Soldier that started last week, 2 episodes under. First episode was New World Order. I had to look that one up. New World Order. And the last one was a Star Spangled Man. So getting right to it, just high level impression, just like before drilling down. How are you feeling about it?
Okay. So going into it, I was like, okay, well, and this didn't happen with WandaVision because we had no idea.
Right.
But then we keep seeing these previews and stuff, and we say, oh, okay, well, all right, this is going to be a little lighthearted. It's going to be a buddy movie. It's going to be an extended buddy movie. Right.
Right.
And so I was a little worried. Right. Neither of those characters are my favorite in the MCU.
Right.
Right. I mean, I appreciate them. I'm invested in them, but it's not like, so I was just like, okay, we'll watch this and see how they're going to push the other stories forward.
Right. Because they're B team. Yeah, that's the whole point of these series is actually to have the non like, you know, A-listers, the non, marquee players, kind of get some screen time.
Yeah. Well, I think it was, it was within the first 5 minutes. I was just like, oh, this is going to be totally awesome. Like, we stopped and I was like, God, their writing is just amazing. And it was just how they managed to put so much information in so little time and not squeeze it in so it looks like this big chunk of stuff they've just tried really hard to expedite. It and actually
do you have a particular example in mind?
Oh God, I'm trying to think of it. Well, in the second episode there was a better one of it, but
we'll jump around.
Yeah, well, so in the top of the second episode, it was amazing because the episode first episode finished with this new Captain America,
right?
And of course we're all just like,
right off the bat you're like, who's this guy?
Yeah,
nope.
No. And then within the first 7 minutes we counted of the second episode, you're like, I actually identify more with this guy.
Yeah, this guy's not a bad guy.
And it was like that.
Yeah,
it's such good writing. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that.
Overall, I'm glad they went that way because I'm from the the comics history with John Walker, U.S. agent, then Captain America, which tends to be a lot more negative. I mean, he's not a bad guy.
I think they're going to make him negative still.
He's not a bad guy in the comics, but he has been, and he's back to being a good guy now because he was just not Captain America material, and he was there to kind of make that point that Captain America is not just like something anybody can do or can be. So yeah, I'm really glad they did that. There was a lot of things handled, a number of things handled in that exchange, that scene. One, and like I said, we're doing these out of order, but in that opening scene of the second episode, Star Spangled Man, where he's kind of going through his old high school locker and all that kind of stuff there. Well, now we all know that race is going to be an issue,
right?
in this thing. It's already kind of shown up a couple different places in a couple different ways. So it's going to be an issue. But they establish, it's a little heavy-handed, but without blatantly saying it, that race isn't an issue for him. For him.
That isn't going to be his downfall, as it
that's not going to. It's not going to be his, because that's not.
I
his
actually think that's
personality.
why they wrote that character. They actually wrote Battlestar in Lamar in.
Well, there's that. Well,
comics.
he's in the comics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that's the reason he's in the comics too, to show like, okay, well, this guy is still a good guy.
Yeah, but they screwed up on that. They screwed up on that.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They did, because they called him Bucky.
Yeah. Dwayne McDuffie had to come in and go. No, we're not calling him Bucky. But because they were the bold urban commandos, and then they called it, BUC, and but also his girlfriend, wife, whoever that was with him,
wow, that was actually kind of a weird thing. I was like, who?
She was
that pregnant, I think, right? It looked like she was pregnant.
Might have been. I could, yeah. So, but that was also a way of saying that,
right.
This is not this guy. You may think he's going to be like this white supremacist dude or whatever that you've heard about in past comics, or you're concerned about. That's not him.
See, and again, that's good writing, because this people come in and they got the scope and they're like, not this, right. And they're like, and not this. Right. And when he appears at the end of the first episode, he's just got the big grin, and so you the viewer automatically can stick things on him. Look at that big smiling mug. Oh, he's going to be pompous. Oh, this and that. And so then they show him, and he's humbled by the role. He feels the weight of the thing he has to do, and he just wants to do the job right. I just want to get to it, and I just want to do it. So that makes him just like he's an everyman hero, which is good. That's great. Now things are going to get bad for him. I'll go into that in a minute. But let's actually jump back to the first episode, because there's things I'm going to say about his introduction in a second as well.
Yeah, so we're going to jump back. So let's start at the very beginning of Falcon and Winter Soldier. We have the opening air battle scene,
right?
With Falcon and Red Wing and Batroc the Leaper, who's great, who was in Captain America Winter Soldier, who fought Captain America there. It was a great scene.
I think it was Civil War that he fought him.
Was it Civil War? No, it was Winter Soldier, because
right.
Yeah, it was when Nick Fury had actually hired Batroc to do that, and then Black Widow came in and got the information off the disc, and blah 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 blah. It's a whole thing. Right. But GSP, Georges St. Pierre is the actor. He's a mixed martial artist dude, legend in the sport, and so it was really kind of cool to see him, because he's known for his kicks, and Batroc the Leaper is supposed to be a kicker, and so that was kind of fun to see him back. And they didn't kill him off, because he's a good guy to bring back. He's a good physical muscle, guy that is like, hey, he comes in and
he's established.
Yeah. What he can do. So they didn't kill him off, which was good.
Right.
The stunt stuff was pretty crazy. I'm like, I can't see anybody doing that without some serious CGI. But
the what stuff?
The stunts, it was a great mix of like real aerial footage stuff, and then CGI stuff, and then
right.
But some of those stunts, I'm like, damn, that's a cool stunt. I can't see anyone ever really doing that one. Like drifting in and going in sideways on the helicopter and stuff like that. That's some dangerous biz, but cool looking though. No one would plan that as an escape. If you're a terrorist, it's like, I'm going to jump out with this, flying squirrel outfit, and if I get in trouble, I will fly back into the side of the helicopter, not get hit by the blades. That's just my escape route.
Right. I thought that was a good use of those style of helicopters too.
Yeah.
You got to learn to close them doors.
Yeah, exactly. Close them doors. That was a good opening bit.
Yeah, it was exciting. It got you really interested, and then to go to Bucky immediately afterwards and give more of his story and what he's going through.
Yeah,
that was more meaningful than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I actually thought that the introduction of this therapist was going to be just for that scene that you, or
Right.
similar things that you saw in the when they had to have a group session,
Right.
which was also excellent writing.
Right.
Um,
So yeah, but no, it was a good device to look into him a little bit, understand that, well, one, okay, he got pardoned. Thank you. Because I was like, how the hell is this dude still walking around?
right.
And that also he's working on stuff. It's not like everything's fine.
Right. But it's
Yeah.
also that he's working on stuff so that he will not do things that he's still doing. He's just trying to follow those rules. And
Right.
I like stuff like that too. I like when writers limit themselves, when they tie some things together and like, you have to go with this.
Right.
And that was what I felt with that. It's just like, oh my God, that's cute. That's cute.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's not like meaningful, but it's cute. Yeah. He's not supposed to. I can't remember what they are. I should have thought of that beforehand. What were the rules?
Well, it's not do anything illegal, not hurt anyone.
Not hurt anyone.
And can't remember the last one.
Yeah, I can't remember. So
like,
but yeah, that was really funny. It was a nice little back and forth, and it still had meaning. And that's what I'm saying. So like that could have been a throwaway, just to show some wacky hijinks.
Right.
Right. But then they really went there, man. In the whole thing, all the jokey, all the go back, all the this and this and that, and then just like end in this. It was like a nice little movie inside of it. I got everything that happened and what he's doing.
Yeah, and so he started
dealing with that old.
I remember
Asian
we
guy.
started off with him having that dream, which was not a dream, and ended up being a memory of him breaking in, to the place, shooting up the Russian mob dudes or whatever, and then taking out that one guy. And so that was, and a nice touch is that he woke up and he was sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is like a callback to Winter Soldier when Falcon, and Sam and Steve met, and he said, it's your bed, isn't it? The pillow's too soft. It's like, and he's like, yeah, it's like, it's like sleeping on a marshmallow or whatever he said. And so it's, Bucky's still in that mode. He hasn't gotten, even though
he's been more in that mode than anyone.
Yeah.
Because he's been told go there, and he just walks until he can't, and then sleeps, and then gets up and goes.
Yeah.
And that's what your assumption is, right?
Other than that limited bit of time of peace that he had in Wakanda, it's just been going from one fight to the other for 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Or being frozen.
Yes. Well, yeah, but that's just like no time there. He just wakes up, go fight. Okay. Wake up, go fight. Yeah. Yeah. So that's some good stuff there. And then we were introduced to a little bit of Falcon's background, his family, this and that. A little line that I thought was really good was from his sister. Actually, it was one of her first words. Sam comes in, and all the kids are going, Uncle Sam, Uncle Sam. And he goes, and she goes, yeah, there he is, Uncle Sam. And the way she said it had so much weight to it. There was a little bit of Uncle Tom in there. There was also a little bit of, oh, you're just all about, Mr. Patriotic and Mr. Working for the man kind of thing. There was just a whole lot of weight in that little line, which,
and also if his name was Gary, it's his sister annoyed that her children like this guy that she's mad at. You've heard that before. Oh, it's Uncle Gary. Right. So it's all
he can do no wrong. Yep.
Right. Exactly. If you only knew, kids. Right. That's
right. Yeah. Oh, and real quick, it's happened when after the first battle, there's kind of like a little debrief with him and Torres. Joaquin Torres, which was also that was a little stiffer. There was a lot of exposition that had to happen there. We wanted to introduce the whole flag smashers thing. So the guys with the phone, he's checking those things out. So that the dialogue there, I think, is a little stiffer. But I'm a little taken aback, and it's fine, but I'm a little bit taken aback by how freely they are with like secret identities. It's like, dude, you don't have powers. People just know you're freaking Falcon. someone's just going to go up, whip, pow, boom, Falcon dead.
Done. I killed Falcon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of takes me out of it every so often. People are like, "You're the Falcon." It's like, damn, dude, you're in a country where there are a lot of people who don't like you.
Yeah.
But
because and that's the second episode.
Yeah.
Because there's some of that too.
Yeah.
That happens there, but
yeah, so that's it's so that I'm just a little taken aback. I can understand things like Tony Stark or whatever, someone, but he's got no powers, dude. It's like, you don't have that suit on, you don't even have it with you, you're in trouble.
You're screwed. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so then there's the whole background with him and his sister, a lot of weight, a lot of, history, just basically rounding him out as being a person, not just like, not just this, superhero dude or military dude, whatever,
this lone wolf who hooked up with Cap. But there's and I was glad that they went here. And this was actually this is what I was talking about in the next episode, how this sort of happened. But in here, him being known was kind of necessary because the bank scene wouldn't have made sense.
Right.
And so I'm sure that they said, well, it's kind of inconvenient for these reasons and it doesn't make sense, but we need to establish that he's known.
Right.
So that we can talk about this.
Right.
And I'm glad.
It's interesting.
I suspected they were going to go there.
Right.
Obviously, because of this dynamic between the two of them and who deserves the mantle. Because I didn't know that John Walker was going to be part of this. I didn't know for certain. So, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So, I'm interested in the world they're kind of building with the fallout of the blip. I want to call it the snap because I know there was a snap.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And with the fallout of that, and also just kind of to a certain degree how it parallels with the whole, with COVID and everything in the pandemic, but just how the world has changed for them. And that's one thing we have to keep remembering. It's like, I think it's maybe a year or two further in the future still. I don't think we've quite caught up with that 5-year gap yet. And everyone all these people disappeared and they're all coming back. And the stupid bureaucracy that's interfering with everyone's lives because of that. Mm-hmm. So banks not doing what, banks holding on to their money.
Being, I can't think of the word, declared dead.
Right. Being declared dead, having to be repatriated, having to get your citizenship back, get your identity back, all this kind of stuff, get your property back that was taken from you because you were dead and then went someplace else. The bank picked it up and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's an interesting, kind of underpinning to why I have to excuse some things. Cause I'm like, come on, he is Falcon, don't you think they'd give him a little bit? But but
I'm always and this was one of them, and it brings me out sometimes. That so they tried to establish that, like, there's no pay for being a superhero.
Yeah. So apparently Stark wasn't doing nothing.
Stark probably, when he had the Avengers, right? He just goes, "Oh, you're an Avenger. This is what you make now."
Right.
That because you can't just expect them to, right? It's just, no, you're an Avenger. So you shouldn't worry about that shit. You're an Avenger. You have this amount of money. Not this amount of money per year, maybe. It's you have,
who knows,
$7 million.
But that money is gone. There's no Stark money.
I know, but it still should have been established. Stark Industries, Pepper still runs the damn thing.
Yeah. So exactly. So there should have been something there.
And I understand they can't do that because otherwise they can't talk about this issue. And I think that's the more important of the things, right? Before, that it doesn't make sense. But that happens to me a lot in a lot of other superhero movies too. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So, yeah. So there's something you just have to accept there. And, but I thought that was a good kind of just character stuff for him. So he's not just the guy who's going to crack wise and then be there for the fight.
Right.
You know, he's got this other stuff, and he's thinking about things. And that was the one thing, to show the weight of his decisions happening to him and having to really think about it. The conversation he was having with Rhodey, about, you know, about what these things mean. And you can, and kind of love Don Cheadle because he was really kind of showing, at least my reading of it was, he thinks you're making the wrong call.
Yep.
But he knows it's your call to make, and he's not going to tell you you're making the wrong call, because, you know, that's just not what we do. So he's just going, but the look in his eye was just like, nah, man, you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing it, but it's your call. Yeah. And he left it. But that's what Bucky can't do. Bucky can't just say it's your call. You know, he that's not his character. He's like, you made the wrong decision. You betrayed, you know, his legacy. Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting thing to go with, in terms of dialogue from Bucky, is
in episode 2,
because I guess there was this assumption that they were going to be, you know, fighting over the shield.
I didn't have that assumption. Yeah. But
who deserves it more? Well, there was all these, you know, when you see Sam throwing it at a tree and Bucky like grabs it, right, it's sort of like inferred, like, maybe you shouldn't, you know, because he can use it too. And I think they show him.
I saw that more as a training montage. It's like, yeah, you almost hit me. It should have gone back that way. You got to watch how you throw it, blah, 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 blah. You know, and I took it from, you know, back when you look at Endgame, when they're standing there waiting, and then Steve shows up over there on the bench, and Falcon's looking, and Bucky's looking, and he kind of looks at Bucky, and Bucky just kind of nods, and it's like, you go over. He doesn't go over himself. He says like, go on, you go on over there, because in my seeing of it, Cap and him had already talked it out. Yeah. It's like, if you don't come back, you know what, you know, it's like, I'm not the guy. I'm broken. You say, I am not Captain America material. This guy is. He's a modern guy. He's in the modern age. I'm this old 109-year-old dude that, you know, isn't ready. He's just not. He's not. So that was done. There was no argument. When, you know, he was like, yep, take it. It's yours. We already talked about this.
Right.
And, you know, he knew Cap wasn't coming back. He had already, he knew when he said, you know, see you on the other side or whatever, or you're taking all, whatever that whole exchange was, Bucky knew he wasn't coming back. Yeah. They had already talked it out. So Bucky's like, you know, you betrayed Cap, but that's getting in the second episode. First episode,
I think we're kind of there, because
we get to that very end where at the end of the first episode, where Sam is trying to figure out how he's going to deal with the house and the boat and his sister and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of trying to do some life stuff, you know, working on that boat. And then we get the announcement that there's a new Captain America,
right, being
made by the very person who said that you did the right thing by turning this in. Right. You know, it's like, and at first it was like, oh, is he a curator from a museum or something like that? It's like, no, he's from the Department of Defense. Yeah. And he basically said, you know, you did the right thing, son, bringing this shield back. It's going where it needs to go. Yeah. Because you don't think he
didn't take him long.
Yeah. Did not take him long. No, it was already in the works. Yeah.
Already in the works.
Yeah.
Which goes to the second episode, which this part makes me think of the worst writing that existed in these two episodes.
Okay.
It's one sentence. And I was just like, what? It's like, you could have done that without saying that one. That they studied his body because he's so strong. Come on.
Yeah. Now, but personally, I don't necessarily I didn't see that as bad show writing for this, as bad morning show writing, because it's Good Morning America, and that is just the kind of stupid stuff. But it is jarring. It is an incredibly
super jarring. I was like,
it is a very badly written line.
Yeah.
Whether or not it's intentionally badly written or not, it's not a comfortable line. It's like it's like a clunker.
Well, to me, it was like they put that line in there to show that even without a super serum, he's at top physical human top physical shape.
He's in great shape. He's
By the way, can
but
we
yeah,
just
that
talk
was
for a second about the casting on that? Worst decision ever.
on which
John Walker.
really.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. That guy's face caves in right there.
But see, that's his Kurt Russellness, man. It's Kurt Russell's kid. He looks like
I know, but it's so weak.
well,
There's
yeah.
this
Well,
this whole section
and you know
that's
what?
supposed to look strong.
No, that's why they take that. You notice every possible chance they get, they take that cowl off because he's a totally different person if he doesn't have that cowl on. Robin sent me, there's a meme going on online of the old dude from Up wearing a Captain America mask because they look the same. It just this kind of weak chin looking thing under there. It just doesn't look. So yes, I don't think it's bad casting, but that.
Do you think they did that on purpose so that
it's just
because what a fucked up thing to do? Be like,
the cowl
we're going to cast you because nobody likes your mug. It's going to help us.
But the cowl is stupid. That's why even Cap doesn't wear it hardly. They had him wear it at first, and then once things start going, he just stopped wearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when they went back in Endgame, he had to put it on. He's like, it's like, why can't believe I wore this?
Right.
He never wears that thing anymore.
Yeah.
It makes it really kind of makes no sense. But yes, he looks terrible in that cowl. It's just not a good look for him. So they have a fight scene, boom, 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 boom. Second that fight scene's off, he starts to take that thing off because it's like, if we're gonna have this guy own a scene and have presence in a scene, he can't have that cowl on.
Right. Yeah. So at the beginning of the second episode, like I said earlier, great writing to make us identify with John more.
Right.
Excuse me. To show that he's at least heroic, right? But and this is the problem with modern entertainment. I know he's going to be taken out on one level or another,
or taken down. Yes,
something's going to happen to him because previews have already shown the shield in play between the Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
right?
Without him there. So it's just like this kind of, all of a sudden I got this feeling like,
or they're pulling a freaking thing on us. Who knows?
Right. And they could do that for certain now that we know what they're capable of. But I'm hoping it's not a takedown. I'm hoping that John's like, this is not me.
Yeah,
I don't see that happen because even though they show that he can be humble, later in this episode they show that he's not in some ways.
Well, yeah, because early on
he actually goes like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So early on they well, I think that there's a certain amount of, he knows that people are watching him, so he's got to stay big. But in that first scene where he's in the locker room and Hoskins shows up to give him the other part of the pep talk to get him out there, he says something like, you can't just go, you just can't punch your way through problems anymore, something like that. And which is just a kind of a way of saying, it's saying this job is big and has nuance to it, but also that Walker isn't necessarily a subtle person. In the past, he has just kind of, he's a little blunt. He's more of a blunt. He's not necessarily a diplomat. And Cap was really good at being a diplomat. And so there's that. And then when after that scene where he's like, she says like, on whose authority, he's like, kind of me,
right.
When him and Falcon and Winter Soldier, they have a little conflict outside the police department, is like, we're not going to work together. And it's like, well, stay out of my way.
Right.
And there's a certain edge to him there.
Right.
But that's because, hey, it's a testosterone. We're in a little circle jerk of testosterone here. You're going to be tough guys. I'm going to be a tough guy. There's a certain amount of that.
Well, then just as a theory, how do you think they're going to play John Walker?
Okay, well, depends on where they decide how close to going to the comics they want to go. Because they introduced, so we have in getting to that, I want to talk about the bad guys briefly.
Yeah,
okay. The opposition,
yeah.
where we have the Flag Smashers, who are a bunch of superpowered people. We now learn they're not just that one guy that was in the first episode. In the first episode, they showed someone that had superpowers, that obviously was super strong, and that got him on Falcon's radar. They thought he was the leader. Obviously not. They have Carly Morgenthau, I think her name is.
Yeah,
I don't know what the actress's name is, but I think she's the same actress that was in the Han Solo movie.
I think so.
And she
something.
Yeah, and she wasn't on this. She didn't have a big role in that movie. She had an important role, but not a big one. But she kind of made a really good impression in the short time she was there. One, because she just has a very unique look, just like the fair skin and the crazy freckles and the wild hair. But so once I saw she was in this one, I was like, okay, she's gonna be a marquee player. She's not gonna just be some little substandard bad guy. Yeah.
Right.
So obviously, so she's the leader. They kind of gender switched. Carl,
and that wasn't apparent to me watching the episode. By the way, when I was doing some of my research, I was like, oh, okay, good, she is, because we were talking like, well, she's obviously the leader, right? Because going in and talking during, it was just like, okay, well, I don't see that guy,
right? Because they were looking for the big dude. They were looking for the big dude. And
so, is it going to be that it's going to be no leader? It's going to be a leaderless situation, and that's why Flag Smashers, they're just like, no.
Right. Oh, I'm sure there's a certain amount of that. Yeah, I'm sure there's a certain amount of that. But yeah, obviously she seems to have more command in terms of like tomorrow.
Yes, and I'm glad she does.
Yeah, and because she was saying
towards the end, I was like, she's got to be the leader.
I hope you're all with me on this, because after tomorrow, there's no turning back. So there's very much like she's in charge of these things. And the fact that she was getting the text from somebody saying, you stole something from me and I want it back.
Which is obviously the power broker.
Which is the power broker. Right. And so the power broker shows up. Well, the power broker is like a group. It's like the Power Broker Inc. or something like that in the comics. But I don't know if it's going to be individual that calls himself the power broker here or not. But what they do is they kind of give people powers. They've done the research. They're like mad scientist people. They take care of, they do whatever they need to do to find out how powers work. Mostly it's like super soldier serum, like derivative type stuff. And they give people powers. And in the comics, two of the people they gave powers to were John Walker and Hoskins. Back when they were just like wrestlers, and then were US Agent and Battlestar. And so I have a feeling that one or both of them, probably both of them, are gonna feel the weight of fighting people that have powers without powers of their own.
Yes, for sure.
And then
they're gonna go
and do stuff.
Do you think they're gonna go with the whole? Because I did some research on this, and Hoskins like steals some, and he has a problem. It makes him a little bit.
Well, yeah. Well, there was a whole thing in the comics where the broker was not just juicing people, but he was also getting them addicted to other drugs. It was like, oh, here, you have to take these drugs in combination in order to get your powers. And it's like, this is the one that gave powers. This is the one that made you addicted. So if you didn't come back, then they take away the one, or you try, it's like, so that was a thing. So I don't know if that's a thing, or if that's going to, if it's going to be a problem or not, or if it's just going to be straight like this power thing.
Right. Yeah, but that's definitely going to happen. So we're going to get some new powers out of this.
Or at least some new powered people. I don't know if they've got, the ability to do like anything other than just kind of super soldier type stuff.
Oh, I remember, because in the comics, in my research, the Lamar doesn't take super serum. He takes something that's supposed to trigger an X gene or something. So, and the only reason I bring that up is because that will be a little bit of a show of hand.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're. I
If
don't
they
think
go,
that's going to
it's
happen.
too hard to set up. But
Yeah,
if
it's
they
too hard
went
to set
there,
up.
you'd
No.
be like, oh, this is how they're going to do it. Because
No, no.
remember, it's always like, oh, how are they going to introduce
Yeah,
X-Men?
yeah, it's yeah. I'm not. I don't think that's going to be a part of it. So having them get their butts kicked by superpower people is going to be just one of those things. And I think it'll probably be a character trait, not necessarily a flaw of Walker, of his competitiveness and not wanting to lose. He's not going to like, getting his ass handed to him by a girl. It's just like he's gonna want to come back stronger, and it's going to get harder and harder.
So okay,
and the pressure and the pressure of the office is going to get to him.
So I see that. That's a good motivator, because I was worried that, they were going to go, and they still might, but I was worried they were going to go with the more like, he's more militant.
Yes. Right.
And they are going there because he brought out a gun.
Right. Yeah. But Captain America didn't have a problem with guns either.
No.
He was a soldier. He was shooting people. I mean, even in the Avengers, man, remember the whole Iron Man had to do the engine thing, and Captain America had to hold people off. He's like, yeah, he was taking people out. He don't care. He's not going to do it just willy nilly.
Right.
So yeah, I see that being a growing conflict.
Yeah.
How they execute it, I'm not going to try to predict yet.
Yeah.
But I got a feeling that's going to come up, and whether or not it's going to be, it's the kind of thing that brings out negative traits in somebody when you start to get a little bit of power, or who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of a trope,
Yeah.
Somebody who is underpowered, who gets powers, and then covets more power,
right,
and is protective of the power they have. That sort of situation. So yeah, I can see that happening. I'm curious to how they're going to go. I mean, again, I don't trust them to save my life. Who knows? Any one of these people could just be taken out in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And that's just what they're going to do, because they're trying to throw us somehow.
Yeah. So for me, a big question for me is, okay, they've been trying for a long time to do this super soldier thing, and someone's finally cracked it. And how is it connected to Isaiah Bradley and Winter Soldier? Because they have their exchange with Cap and Battlestar, and then they go their separate ways. And Bucky says, "Okay, there's somebody I want you to meet," and that's when I'm like, "Yes."
You knew.
Oh yeah, I knew. I was hoping. I was assuming. That was just like, yeah, come on. And so in that exchange, there was this whole thing. They were taking my blood. He was saying that, people were coming, taking my blood.
Yeah.
So it's like,
real quick before we get there, this is the point where the whole, their secret identities are known, really was sharp contrast.
Right.
Because everybody recognized him, and then he's just walking through a neighborhood. It's like, in writing, that's a recipe to have somebody know somebody's location. That's that's what immediately came into my brain. Somebody's going to know he's there. Who? Right. So that sort of took me out a little bit. I don't know if there was any way around it, but
and who not as much, not much time passed, but yes, it's one of those things. If any time had passed, you're like, hey, someone's going to figure out they're there and get there. Which, when Bucky got arrested, then it definitely got on people's radar. And when they went into the house, came back out, there were a lot more people milling around. They didn't go out and say, everyone's like, hey, look, it's him. But it's like, okay, obviously that kid ran out. They started telling people. And so by the time they come back out, there are several people milling around going, freaking Falcon. And some white dude just showed up.
Just came into
Mr. Bradley's house. Yeah.
Bradley's house. Yeah. I knew something was up with him. So yeah, go ahead with the exchange though. So it was a good introduction. Now I'm a fan of Carl Lumbly. Yeah, that's one. When I heard Carl Lumbly was going to be in it, I was like, is he going to be the guy? Because he's been around, from Buckaroo Banzai to Mantis. He had his own show, Mantis, that they screwed up. It was like a Black Iron Man show in the early 2000s. He's been around for a long time. They aged him up a little bit in this scene. That's what I was going to so that they could bring him back as
I'm hoping they'll bring
Mhm.
him back to have a little bit of flashback of, you know, what things were like when he was younger.
or
They
not,
did age
not
him
even
up.
a flashback. He's still powered.
Yeah.
To actually have him participate would be
Yeah.
awesome.
But
With a
but I
new
have
dose or something, and he underages
yeah.
or de-ages or whatever.
Or like I said, you know, he was, like I said, he met Bucky back in the 50s or whatever and kicked his ass apparently. But the idea that he had a different experience than Steve is, you know, I'm curious as to how much they're going to go into that. That, you know, are they going to talk about the fact that, you know, that they got a bunch of involuntary volunteers and kind of put them through this rigor in order to try to replicate that, you know, secret, the soldier serum, and then put them out to pasture or killed them or jailed them once we were done, you know, done with them. I'm curious as to how that's going to get discussed, because they're going to have to go back to them. You know, they're going to have, they can't, that's not it. They're not going to leave it there. And so there's going to be, you know, a connection between him, Zemo, you know, and Hydra, because the reason they're going to Zemo is because Zemo's been studying all the Hydra stuff once it got released into the internet. He studied it all. So Zemo's going to have a lot of information about what was done. And yeah, I'm really curious as what happens when Falcon decides to go back and get more information and what he learns and how deep they decide to dive into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't looked online to see how people reacted to it yet. I'll probably do that this week, just to see what kind of feedback. I talked to my son. He said, "Yeah, there's some people who are already kind of upset that they're even talking about some of this stuff," but I haven't checked it out myself.
Well, and we knew this was going to be a vehicle for information.
Yes.
And it may be a little bit on the nose to have police show up and start the question. It was a very, very heavy-handed scene.
Yes.
Because they had to go right there. It's not like, because normally there's subtleties.
Yeah,
so they had to go there.
This one, it wasn't just like him walking down the street. It wasn't like the two of them walking down the street and some cop whip whip whip. At least they were arguing in the middle of the street. At least
they were arguing,
and causing a bit of a fuss. Now then there was,
it was this really quick jump. Oh, is this man bothering you?
This guy bothering? Yes, you know,
like.
But that's, hey, that shit happens, you know.
I know, yeah, I know.
People get addressed. That's the whole thing. Yeah,
yeah. But it was heavy-handed, but for a reason. It had to be. It's not. You can't fuck around with that. And this is a vehicle for information. So there's going to be some people who are going to be like, and there's going to be some people that are going to say, "Oh wow, yeah, that really does happen." And
what I found, you know, funny about it and interesting about it is, which might be too subtle for some, is that, so he says, you know, show me your ID. And he says, "I don't have any ID." I don't know if that's true or not, but he's like, "I'm not showing you my ID." Right.
That's pretty much what he was saying.
Right. And then they go around another round and he says, you know, "Can you show me ID?" So, "I'm not going to show you my," and then Buggy says, "Just show him your ID." Right.
Yeah.
Which is such a white dude thing to say. Which is like, just show him your ID. It's like, no, I don't fucking have to show him my ID. But it was just like, that was just like a real subtle way of like, Bucky, he's even like,
Bucky doesn't get this. Yeah.
You don't get it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, and I don't see there's any reason why Bucky should get it. It's not.
He shouldn't get. No. He's a man out of time.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to him to just do it. Just give him the thing. There's obviously you've done nothing wrong. So just give him your ID. You know, so, you know, yeah. So I thought that was a great thing to have him say that, because that's something he would say. That's one thing that is subtle about good writing versus bad writing, is if you read a script, if you see it laid out and things could have been said by anybody, then it's not good. But when something is said and you go, that is something Bucky would say. Because, you know, and in the context, like, yes, that's what he would say.
Right.
Then you're like, okay, that's within character. But if it's just like a man off camera He's like, yeah, if it just feels like
Just
anybody
show
could,
'em.
yeah, it feels like anybody could say it,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. But that really fit his character at that moment. I thought that was,
You know
that
what?
was
I
good.
should create a little puppet show. And it should be the scene that took place off camera in that neighborhood between those two guys
Which two guys?
on their porch.
Oh, okay.
Being like, you know, who the fuck is that? Some little kid comes out. It's the Winter Soldier.
It's Black Falcon.
They don't know Winter Soldier.
Oh,
It's
they
the
probably
Falcon,
do. Yeah,
but
because
they
he's
don't
been on
care
the
about
news.
him.
He's been called by name when he was wanted. It was like Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier.
Right. But they don't care about him.
Yeah.
They're excited to have it was shown, right?
Right.
The kids are excited. And they're laughing, and he's like, oh yeah, what's he doing here, and so on and so forth. And then he goes, and I knew that man was up to something. There's something. I always said there's something wrong with him. Yeah, you always said something wrong with him. And then to have them walk out, and the cops show up, and they're like, well, here we go. And then to watch it all play out, and they're having their commentary, right? I hope that, look, they're asking him for his ID. He's saying no. Look, that white dude just said,
right.
Just show him, right? And then, I wish if I was the showrunner on this is why I could never be a showrunner. You would hear this reaction. Oh, when they arrest the white dude, like, right.
Oh! Yeah, you would have had Ice Cube and on the porch.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's those guys. Yeah. Or really, really old guys.
Yeah.
One or the other. Yep.
Your old black Statler and Waldorf.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're like, they got the white guy.
So I thought that was good. And so I'm curious as to where they're gonna go with that. I thought they were going to take longer to get into that, but they went straight into, having him show up. I mean, honestly, it's only 6 episodes. They're doing 45 minutes, then you have your freaking credits per episode. So you're going to have about a 4-hour movie worth of stuff. They're really getting to it. So I'm curious where they're going to go with that. I'm looking forward to it.
Well,
and then we have the therapy session with the two of them, which is just, which we'd all seen parts of in the previews and stuff.
But it was way more serious.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was a lot more serious.
That was a great reveal.
Yeah, that was really good. I mean, there's just good kind of physical chemistry between the two of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Apparently that scene was edited as much as it was because they were just too busy laughing during the whole thing.
Really?
So all these like little was just because that's the usable footage they had. They just kept cracking up, having to stare at each other and do this and then that. They just kept breaking. So they just like, okay, we're only going to show you for 2 seconds because that's all we have is 2 seconds. So you're not laughing. Boom, boom, boom. But it ended up working with the energy of the scene really well. And I like the whole getting physically close kind of thing. It's like, I'm up in there. Yeah. But they both, they still stayed within the realm of their characters. I like Bucky being a little more human and a little less cyborg, because he was a normal dude. He was like, Steve's super buddy. He was like, just like the big buddy. He was like the guy who was helping the little guy. He was lighthearted. So it's good to see, to have him have a little bit more energy other than just being the guy staring all the time, which is a nice running joke.
Yeah. It's a little disappointing, that he didn't come out much more human from Wakanda. Because my brain put together this really, really intricate story of him actually having to touch his psyche and coming out. It's not just he was sitting in a hut chilling.
No. Well, like, I can see that, but but I think it's one of those things where the way I picture it and the way I've thought, because I felt the same way, is there's a mindset you get in when you're in Hawaii.
Right.
And then when you come back, you can't hold it as well. It's just like, damn it. And he's like, there was that I had some peace for a while there. I had it. and he wasn't able to hold on to it because he went right back into another fight. It's like, remember I talked about, you go to therapy, you go to a massage therapist or something, and then you get back in the car and you drive for an hour or something like that, and you just ruin the whole thing you just did.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. I just sat and did yoga and meditated for, an hour, and then hopped in freaking rush hour traffic and stiffened up and got it all back. That was just a waste of money. And so I see him being a little bit of a victim of that. It's like, oh, you had that great Wakanda time. And then during checkout, they're like, oh, here's your gun. Time to go to work.
Yeah, that was played as a tragedy in a way.
Yeah.
So, now can we talk about the thought that occurred to everyone, which is, well, I'm paraphrasing. Well, we have to go talk to right now, and we all were like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Those weren't hard to memorize words, and there were probably other ones, right? Like, that's a bad idea on a big scale. They're not going to go there. I don't think they're going to go there because it's just, that's not what they want right now. They don't want to make Bucky a bad again.
Oh, no. Yeah. And that would also undo what Shuri did.
Right. It actually would be really funny if Zemo tried.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, if he's, it's like, yes, I'm curious as to how your homecoming was.
Right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting scene. And so I don't know why. Now let's just talk about how these end, because we discovered in WandaVision there's this way they end them. It's a surprise, right? Like you're following a flow,
mm-hmm.
and it makes sense when you look back. It's like, okay, well, yeah, that's where they end things. But there's this weird trick they do with an abrupt ending, and you felt it a lot because this was the thing that made you go, I want more. Mm-hmm. It's really striking in this one, and I don't know why.
Yeah, at least the second episode,
it feels like a movie. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Right.
Whereas like television episodes, when you're just like, I'm watching a television episode,
right,
you go with the expectation that this is going to end. Your body knows when that's going to end.
Right. Yeah.
It
and
just
the
seems
flow
so abrupt.
The flow
kind of hurts a little bit.
For this last one, it was very interesting because I wasn't really, I didn't pay attention to, I didn't look to see how long the episode was. Because they could be fluctuating. And so I just started watching it. Mm-hmm. And so without having that in mind, you don't really know how far along things are going. And for this one, when they started walking down the street and they started having that conversation, I went, oh, I could just feel it. All of a sudden I felt it.
Yeah.
And then I looked at the time real quick. I went, as they were walking out, just the tone, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Yep. Because there was it was a feel that said
there's a feeling
that they did a shift.
Me. Yeah.
And so it was still abrupt. It was like, I caught it like 30 seconds before the scene ended, but I could just feel the tone change that they were like, oh, we're going to end this thing. It was a good, interesting shift. But what that reminds me though, of what I think would have, I don't know if it would have really helped or not, but I think would have helped Zack Snyder's Justice League if they had thought about chopping things up properly and giving it proper beats and actually breaking it up, not just giving a pause and saying, if you choose to stop right now, you can come back and go on to part 3 kind of thing, and then starting up, because no one's going to do that. They're going to keep going through. Mm-hmm. But if they actually made it into episodes, a part 1 episode, and edited it so it ended on a tone that allowed you to have a break, come back, and then it wouldn't feel like so relentless. That part of me thinks, and I'm probably going to try to compare it this way to a certain degree, that Falcon and Winter Soldier is basically a 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
That's, broken up into pieces. But they're like, we're going to find spots and we're going to come to beats where we're going to stop, and then we will start again.
my thoughts on that when it comes to the Snyder Cut. I could hear the discussion at the table. So this is in parts. We should make this episodic, because that was talked about.
Yeah, it was talked about
in this time and age.
No, it was even floated for a while there that they're discussing it as putting out in four episodes or something like that.
Right.
And people are like, no, it should be a thing because this is original.
Right. And that's probably what the decision making was, is that no, it's the artist's vision. And that's what ruined this fucking movie. But this was also, if not said between anybody in someone's mind, if we break this up into episodes, they'll stop watching after episode 2,
something like that, right?
Or whatever it is. But then my brain told me that's not true. And this is the problem with DC right now. We come back to the MCU because we enjoy what's happening. It's actually a joy thing. We're going, oh, this is going to be so fun to go back here. Right? Yes, there have been disappointments. Yes, there's been some poor writing. Yes, there's all the things that you could possibly mix into there about any other,
because they're 20-something films and
any other property. The way it goes.
Yeah,
they're just like, why did they do that? Why did they do that? That's just going to happen. But DC is writing entirely on they're going to watch it no matter what.
Right.
Because that's the thing that was pissing me off. I couldn't believe I was watching it and I wasn't going to turn it off because I had to see what happened. So it's almost like the opposite. It's are you ready for this, Jerry? It's the anti-life equation.
I knew exactly what you were going to say. That's why I had to mouth it with you, because I knew what you were going to say.
Yeah. Because it is. It's like they're going to come back because they can't believe how fucking bad this is.
There's certain portion of us of that, and then there's the other ones who actually like it. But okay, we don't.
That's a separate thing because we have to talk about that.
That's a separate thing over there.
Yeah.
But So the thing ends with going to go find Zemo, and I was curious because it's like, okay, we know Zemo's going to be a bad guy, and they even show him walking around, holding the mask. It's like, why is that guy out of jail? That was like one of my first thoughts in seeing the trailer. I was like, why is that guy out of jail? Okay, so something's going to happen. He's going to get out of jail. Okay.
Right. So, all right. So my final thought on this, my final thoughts on this are, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next part. I thought the writing overall was really good. I would say the acting was good because I didn't notice any bad acting.
Right.
So, but my final thought on this is a question to you. Okay. And we'll just talk about this, not as a prediction, but just to see where it goes over time.
Okay.
Right. So maybe we'll ask this at the end of every episode. If the players are plastic cups and the shield is the ping pong ball and it's getting shuffled around, which cup is the ping pong ball going to end up? Who's walking away with that shield?
I think Falcon's going to walk away with the shield.
I think Falcon's going to walk away with the shield. Yeah. And for the MCU, they effing better. That's all I'm saying. Right? So maybe we don't ask this after every episode, because I think we're both in agreement there, right? It's just, it has to, or I'm going to be mad.
That'll work. And then curious, does he keep his wings? Which I think he should, because that's his thing.
Why not?
And
he could be how come that never happened? How come the Falcon didn't take that shield and become American Eagle?
Because that would be too cheesy.
No, are you kidding me? In this very storyline, we're supposed to be introduced to two bad guys called left winger and right winger. So I don't think that's too cheesy to call him American Eagle. Shave his head even. Right. All right. So. Oh my God, my cat's at it again.
Yeah. So, but I am still curious as to where they're going to go with So I'm looking forward to where they're going to go with the power broker, with the flag smashers. But by the way, there's the one the flag smasher dude that stayed back behind to hold off.
Yeah.
Right.
He could have done so much more.
All he did was, okay, he pushed the thing down. Now, what slowed them down? Pushing the telephone pole down. That slowed them down.
That's
him getting shot didn't slow him down.
No.
No.
Nope.
But it's like, he could have, okay, fine. You knock the telephone pole down, then go hop on the plane, or you knock the telephone down, you do some other stuff, but you're going to stand there and you're going to let yourself get shot.
That
didn't slow them down at all.
Yeah, I didn't believe that either.
Come on, man.
It's like that guy was an asshole on set, and they're just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, he didn't even know he pushed the thing down, and then okay, that's a wrap, right? And then they brought in a stunt guy to go in there
just from the back.
And they're like, done. Get out of here.
Get out of here. Get out of here, mook.
That's hilarious. No, but I'm pretty much in the same spot you are. There's been a couple stiff spots, a little rhythm in dialogue here and there when they had to be super exposition-y, but otherwise I'm looking forward to where they're going with it. I'm curious. I know they're bringing Sharon Carter back, Agent 13. To give her, because I know, they felt like they did her dirty. At least
I
Falcon
agree.
and Winter Soldier, they feel like they did her dirty by getting her in trouble.
Yep.
And so I'm curious as where that goes. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited about the series. More excited. That's my big takeaway.
Yeah, because I know you were skeptical about it going in.
Yeah, I was way more skeptical.
Skeptical
And skeptical as well. Yeah.
All right. I'm pretty sure we've gone over everything we want to on that one. We're gonna continue this conversation a little later, finishing up our Justice League conversation. But that's going to be it for this episode of the podcast. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. The couple of you guys who have been watching on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jesse, this is one of those. I think I talked to you for like a minute earlier this week on speakerphone when you were talking to my wife.
Yes.
We have not had a chance to really have a conversation this week.
You were walking by as I was talking to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to apologize, folks, because sometimes these things go long and they end up being chopped up because it's literally just us catching up on stuff. You're really just catching. You
actually missed out on 45 minutes of conversation just because I can't shut the F up.
Well, I also haven't talked to him all week. It's like, dude, we've been busy and we got to catch up on stuff.
Down. I had a script I wrote. I was proud of it. I wanted to tell him about it.
So hopefully that energy is part of this, and you kind of that's a bit of chemistry that you enjoy. But at the same time, it does interfere with the flow of these shows sometimes. So thank you very much for your patience with us, and we will continue to give you entertainment as much as we can. Anything to say in closing there, B?
No.
Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.